Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keel's Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.
Helping you build freedom without losing your edge. This is the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels.
It's not every day that you get an opportunity to sit down with someone who has almost 3 decades of experience of service, at the same time has been able to follow a passion and continue to contribute to others in his own way, on his own platform, while he was still serving. You'll understand more about what I mean in just a second. Because today, I've known this gentleman now for, I don't know, many number of years. From afar, virtual world, and I've seen the way that he contributes and makes an impact and has a high level, high standards. And it's one of the reasons that I really wanted to invite him, and very, very grateful for the fact that he's accepted the invitation. Not only is this gentleman someone who has served our country for 26 years, also is a retired officer, which I like to say thank you very much for your service even before you introduce yourself. Aside from that, is a amazing father, husband, family man, and he's also the founder of Tier 1 Coaching. Gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Mr. Brandon Jenkins. Brandon, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Billy. Thank you for inviting me on today, man. When you were saying many years, yeah, I lost track of time. I think we met on this platform, LinkedIn, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I think it's almost 3, man. I think it's almost 3, maybe pushing it even a little bit more.
Yeah. And what a testament to where we are today with technology. And, you'll never be face to face in person, but just the ability to consistently show up as yourself. And when you do that, other people feel that. Your people specifically feel that, I believe.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's why after 3 years, we still haven't met face to face, but we're still back and forth and keeping in touch, and we get to jump on here together.
Yeah,
super
absolutely.
Grateful.
Well, and that makes 2 of us. So I'm grateful, and I continue to root for you, which is also one of the reasons that I'm grateful that you decided to be here on the platform. And so I really want to jump into it because I know that so much goodness, so much impact, so much contribution. Just when I think of you, these are the words that come to mind. And so I know that you have accomplished a lot up to this point in your life, and you've contributed a lot. But I also know that this chapter that you're entering, literally now, is different. So help us understand, Mr. Brandon Jenkins. Who exactly are you?
Oh man, who am I? That's a great question. So I'm going to start a little bit with just what I did, not who I am, because I think our experiences and what we actually do throughout our lives, those do contribute kind of to who we are, right? What we learn from those moments. So real quick, 26 years Navy. 4 of that was at the Naval Academy, and then 22 years active duty after that. The journey, helicopter pilot, naval officer, helicopter pilot, spent most of my career in Florida, did a couple disassociated, meaning I didn't fly, even though I was a helicopter pilot, tours, got to go to the West Coast. I was out in Washington on an aircraft carrier, and I got to come back. I was in Tampa at Special Operations Command for a little while. But most of my career up into the last 3 years was spent in a squadron, a helicopter squadron flying. And as an officer, beyond the flying, you get to start working with a team, being on a team, being part of a team, and leading a team really from the get-go, which is another thing that kind of contributed to where I am today. So I would tell you the first half of my career, who am I? I would have said naval aviator, naval officer, and then I would have said husband, And I would have said, Dad. And like I told you at the beginning, all those things contribute to who I am, but really those are roles that I played, jobs I had, things that I did. And it wasn't really until, let's say, midway through my career that I really started to actually go inside, be more introspective, and really try to think, okay, what is it about me that transcends the role I'm playing, the title I'm playing, the things I'm doing? And I'll tell you the trigger point, and then I'll stop and I'll let you kind of take it from there where you want to go. The trigger point for me that really made me realize it was I was a department head. Think in a squadron of 300, I was in charge of about 150 to 200 of those people. So I was a department head, the maintenance officer, and my commanding officer. So think CEO of that 300 person organization. My commanding officer asked me, "Hey, Jenks, why do you want to be a commanding officer one day?" To which I told him at the time, and this is all I could think of at the time, was because it's the next step on the path. That's it. That's the best I could do. And that gave me a realization like that, and a little bit of good mentoring, because this CO was a really good mentor of mine, a great CO. Hey, Jenks, what you're continuing to do, what you're about to assume, if you even screen to be a commanding officer, you need to think about what you're about to take on, what that means to you. Why is that important to you? And it's got to be beyond just the next step, the next rung on the ladder. And that's what really started me to think more deeply about who I am.
Got you. And so did that actually happen in the moment? They said you need to think about more than just the next step, or did that happen later over time?
What he said happened like in the moment. You might want to think about that. Something to that effect. I don't have the exact words, but I can remember the moment.
Yeah. And so where that takes me is it reminds me of a lot of different, whether it was because I was in the roles in corporate world, right? But it was taking the next role because it was the next step. Like it was someone else's plan. Like that's what I just needed to move up on the org chart. I hadn't really given a lot of thought to until at a certain point when I stopped taking promotions, but that was a whole different thing. So, but in your gut, so the thing that you were responding was because it's the next step?
Yeah. My initial response was, it's because I didn't have the clarity. I hadn't thought about it deeply enough to where I really was connected with my values, passions, purpose. I hadn't done that yet to the level, of course, that I have now.
Yeah.
So in the moment, it's like, well, I mean, I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go do this job. Hopefully I screen for commanding officer and promote. And well, it's the next step. It's the next thing. I don't know how much you've heard me talk about the golden path fallacy a lot.
Yeah.
And this is where in the military, it's very prevalent. I mean, people tell you this is the golden path. These are the jobs to take to stay on the golden path.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right in your face. And so at the time, before I had actually taken the time to think and clarify about values and passions and purpose, I was on the golden path, quote. Yeah. And so I was like, that's it. That's the next step. That's just,
Yeah. And so it's the next step. And this is something we hear a lot, right? And I mean, I just feel very grateful that you decided to be here, because I think we're going to leave some people's heads going, whoa, hang on a second. So during your military service, or during your service, you enjoyed it, right? I mean, you were on the golden path. You liked what you did. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Very accurate.
I really liked what I did too in corporate. I really liked it. I liked it. I was really good at it. And I was recognized by others as being really good at it. And for some strange reason, in April of 2008, I have this conversation with my boss, and it just completely changes the trajectory of what I'm doing. I mean, all of a sudden I hear this voice like, oh my gosh, there's something else that Billy, that you can be doing aside from what you're doing at your job. And I was like, I really like, this is the internal conversation. I like my job, but this thing is, oh my gosh, I see all these different possibilities of being able to become less dependent on others and really follow my own trajectory eventually, but way out. Now, one of the things I mentioned in the beginning is that you had this very successful career. And at the same time, it sounds like you had something very similar, like this calling that was like this voice that was calling you. I want to make sure that before I even ask the next question, did you ever get this like other voice that was, hey, listen, you can be contributing beyond what you're doing now in your own way?
Yes, I did. No? Yes, I did. At the point that we are in the story where my commanding officer asked me this, it was more about, I want to continue on this path, I think, but I need to figure out where the alignment is. So at that point, maybe a little bit here and there, but not to the level. At least the way you just described your moment, I don't think I was at that level yet.
Okay. So when did your moment happen that you can do something beyond just the military chain of command, but you can also contribute to others? When does that happen in your journey? And does it scare you? Or do you lean into it?
Man. So it depends. I'll tell you why it depends. It depends on, I always had the sense that I could do something kind of on the side.
Okay.
Potentially. But it wasn't, again, up to this point in my career, it wasn't because that thing that I could do on the side was a burning passion or my real purpose. Right. But I did have a sense that, it isn't, the Navy isn't the end. Okay. Right. The Navy is just one part of my chapter in my life. Right. And so this won't be the end. So I did have a sense that, hey, I can start pursuing some interests here, some hobbies, a side business, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And gosh, man, in hindsight, it's like, that's an amazing thing to do because you learn so many things pursuing those other interests and hobbies that you can actually apply to every aspect of your life, including back into my role, in my case, at the time, my role in the Navy. It's the same reason that we go and we're still in the Navy, but we go get a master's degree. We go to, and then we can take those things where we're talking about some corporate stuff and some academic stuff, and we can bring those lessons back in and we can apply those to whatever job we're doing, whether it's corporate or the Navy. Same thing with other interests, right? Because school, academics, university, it's not the only way to learn, of course. There's some folks out there that may argue it's not even the best way to learn. And so pursuing another interest, another hobby, like that's a great way to learn, and you can bring that back into the Navy. So I did have that sense, but not at that point, it wasn't tied to like what I believe my purpose was.
Okay.
So that didn't come until I started working with a coach, and we kind of got a little deeper into this, and I was into my leadership role as a commanding officer. So we're a little bit down the road, and we can go wherever you want, Billy. I just wanted to make sure you kind of had the two.
No, and this is what is really, really helpful, right? Because one of the reasons as you accepting to be a guest here today is to share your story, because there are so many different, there's everything from, yes, it's accepted and it can be seen as, yes, we can combine passions to, there are some people that are in certain types of roles and you can only do that role. You're not, culturally, you're not expected to do anything else, but you've got this voice that's calling you and you can't ignore it because it just gets louder. Eventually it just gets louder. It's like one of these things, it doesn't go away. And so it's helping those that are listening kind of as they're driving or running on the treadmill or whatever, is to help them understand like, hey, you are not alone. You're not by yourself. If you like what you do, and at the same time, you have this voice that's like saying, hey, there's something else too. That's, you talked about calling your people, like my people, we like what we do during the day and like to have the option to be able to explore our passions. And see where that curiosity leads us. So you talked about, I'm just going to put a pin in this. I'm going to come back to this for a second, but you talked about your leadership experience. And two of the things I didn't talk about is you also have the blueprint leadership. Say that 5 times really fast, Billy, as well as a co-founder of the Leadership Ready Room. And so maybe you can talk to us about how your initial coaching experience that you were starting to talk about, how that's actually led into what it is that you are doing in these 2 different areas specifically that kind of tie into what you're doing at Tier 1 coaching.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you the real short version from the conversation with my CO to when I hired a coach, because there was a little bit of self-coaching, introspection work that I started to put in after that conversation with my CO at the time.
Okay.
And so things like I found Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and I read that book. And I was like, oh my God, this resonates so much. Like I've got to, like we have a unique why, in his terms. And then I came to look at that as a deeper purpose. Right. Yep. And so I started to do that myself. He has a Find Your Why course. I mean, he has a book, Find Your Why too. He has a Find Your Why course. It's kind of self-paced. And I took that. It was free for active duty military. So I was really on a journey there. Okay. And I got some great introspection out of it. And I was able to see the connections between continuing on the path I was on. And I could see those connections with what was important to me, the values that I held, some of the passions that I had. I hadn't clarified what I believe my purpose was. Okay. I do think that's an infinite thing. However, I do also think that you can start to clarify and kind of hone in on that. But I hadn't really done that at the time either, but I was starting to see the connections. Okay. I could see that continuing on that path, I could see that alignment. And to me, that's where you exit the golden path fallacy. The golden path fallacy isn't simply you're following a path laid by others. It's that you're on a path and you're not clear where the alignment is with that path and what you believe you're truly meant to be doing, because you've never really taken the time to look for that alignment. Yeah. So it's a perfect example of how, Billy, I liked, like you said, you love your day job. I love what I was doing. Yeah. I love flying helicopters, but really what I loved was the teams that I was on, the people that I was able to be at work with every day. I really, really love that. And so I wasn't on the wrong path. That's how it made it a fallacy. The fallacy was in that I had never really examined why, like where's that connection? What's so important? Yeah. So that's what I started to do after this conversation with my CO. Okay. Fast forward, I screened for commanding officer, meaning an administrative board looked at my record and they voted to make me a commanding officer. At the same time, promoted to the next pay grade. Yep. Fast forward, so the way naval aviation does it is your first command at the 05 commander level, you go in as an XO, executive officer, the second in command. And you do that for about 15 months or so. And then you fleet, as long as you don't get fired, you fleet up into the number 1 position, the commanding officer, the CO. Okay. When I was the XO, second in command, is when I was about 3 months out from my change of command. So I was, I'd been thinking the whole time, but really I was thinking about, oh man, I've got to tell you this part too. Okay. So I'm second in command and I'm thinking about like command philosophy. I'm thinking about the values, where this command is, where we need to go, the values that would get us there, right? Thinking about how to communicate all of this to our team. And I do a checkout brief with a young sailor in the command. Whenever anyone checked out of the command, they always had a brief with the XO and the CO. So they're checking out with me as the XO at the time. And, I'm not going to talk about the entire conversation, but basically it boiled down to, hey, sir, we know all about the commanding officer and what drives him and what's important to him, but we don't really know much about you. And remember, I'm about to be the commanding officer of this squadron. Now this sailor's going to leave, but if this sailor's thinking that, the chances are high that one of the other 300 sailors might have been thinking that. Yeah. And it was just an aha moment for me. Like, wow, I've been doing all this introspection and this inner work, But I've also, this whole time I've been in the second in command, I've been spending too much time behind the computer in the office, not out actually talking to people on the team. And so that was like, wow, I'm getting ready to take command. Aha moment. I'm like, I want some help. I want some help clarifying the things we've kind of been talking about, values, passions. What is my purpose? Because I just believe that I got selected for this. I'm about to be a CO. I need to know what uniquely makes me me so that I can show up as that person day in and day out for my command, not try to show up as whoever, whatever leader I read about in a book last week, or, my favorite leaders growing up, like my mentors, they're wonderful, but I knew that I wasn't them and I couldn't be them. And that clarity to me was so important before taking command. So that's when I hired a coach for Blueprint.
And so this is interesting, right? And so you go through this moment, right? Because this is many of the things, a lot of the tendencies, the trends that I see are there's a moment in time that something happens, right? And you have this interview and you realize like, hey, listen, you're doing a lot of thinking about yourself, but the people that you want to make the biggest impact on are not getting the opportunity to really know who you are, be impacted by your leadership, be impacted by your values, as you talk about. And so this is a moment that has you to go and to look for more assistance. But you could have also made the choice not to do that, right? What was it about you, Jinx, that makes you think, okay, this was the path for you to take to make the bigger impact? Because you could have just decided, okay, well, I appreciate the feedback, but I'm getting ready to be CO, and so I'll just figure it out later by yourself versus going to find someone else to help you with that.
Great question, man. Two core values for me come into play at this moment: humility, and that is, and let me define that for you, because I think that it gets a bad rap out there. I think there's some misunderstanding from folks on what it means. And at the same time, what matters is like, how are people defining these things for themselves? How I define humility is, number one, a high level of confidence and self-awareness and situational awareness. Like a humble person, they know what they're good at. They know that they have been successful at things. They also understand that they couldn't possibly have experienced everything that they have to experience, that they know everything. And so a humble person, to me, the best leaders I ever worked for exhibited this. The humble leader recognizes that and is willing to say, what can I learn here? How can I improve? How can we improve? What can we here? I know what we're good at. Okay. We're going to keep doing that. All right. I'm not going to, it's in the humbles here, and on the other end of the spectrum's modesty, meekness, and on the high end of the spectrum might be hubris, right? We're just in overconfidence, right? But humble's in the middle there. It's the golden mean to me. That and team, core value of mine is team. And so at that moment, I knew that I just hadn't been showing up for my team the way I needed to be showing up for them. And I was like, what can I learn from this? And who can I get on my team to help me be better prepared moving forward? That is core. It's part of my blueprint. Right. So it's core to what makes Jenks. And I leaned into it. And I'll tell you, like you said, I could have made the choice not to do that. Up at that point in my career, I didn't know any of my peers who had ever hired a coach.
Gotcha. Yeah.
None of them.
There you go.
None of them. It's not a knock. It's just a signal of kind of the culture I was in. Not a bad culture, but a culture where I hadn't seen that. And so luckily I had some mentors that were also outside. They'd retired from the Navy, or some of them kind of weren't even in. And I saw that they actually did hire some coaches. And one mentor in particular hired the coach I ended up hiring and recommended that I talk to her. And I did. And, we hit it off and went from there.
And so I think that's great. You have this moment of clarity. Your focus is on team, and then I also like hearing what you talk about in terms of humility. Right. I think that's a key, a core value as you talk about, and then also just the fact that you were willing to take action on that, even though that wasn't what the normal, like your normal surroundings. By the way, a lot of similarities in the corporate world, enterprise software sales, where I was. A players, high achievers. Usually you're trying to get things done by yourself because that's just the way that things happen. However, there's no success unless there's a team involved, especially when you're in any kind of organization that is a larger organization. It's just the reality. So you made this conscious decision to seek coaching. You started to tell us a little bit about it. Tell us what that interaction was like. What were you learning about yourself? What were you learning along the way as you had that path? And this is your first kind of outside in coaching experience. Talk to us about that.
Well, I learned that coaching was about. This is my first taste of realizing that I had thought of coaching and mentorship and counseling. I had thought of these things all as the same thing before. Like prior to this interaction, if you would have asked me, "Are you a coach?" I would have said, "Yeah, I'm a coach." And what I meant was I mentor young sailors and I help guide them along. And I don't know how much coaching I was actually doing, because now the way I see coaching is helping someone kind of uncover or reveal the path that they need to take for them, right? And it's more about being with that person and listening and asking questions to help them think through these things, not telling them, "Hey, here's what I did. If you want to be here, do these steps 1 through 5 and you'll make it." And I think that we need all of that. We need mentors in our lives. We need advisors, and we also need coaches. And I think that you can blend the two. Absolutely. And I think sometimes you just need a coach over here and you need a mentor over here. And anyway, so this was my first interaction that kind of let me see a little bit of the difference there. Mm-hmm. And what was beautiful about it is as we're going through this, we're using my daily interactions with the team, challenges that I was facing, going through, like, how am I going to work through this? And I was able to have a coach ask me the right questions to help me kind of figure out what resources I had internally, what resources I could use externally, et cetera. Yeah. So that's something that was invaluable, and that I learned about the coaching process was it's about right now. It's about real time, real life. Yeah. What are you actually dealing with? It wasn't about pie in the sky, like in your ideal world, what would what would things be like? Those questions came out of it, but it was all based on like real stuff, like real things I was doing. That's something I learned. Well, I also learned.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Keep going.
Yeah. I also learned, and this was really, really cool. As we were going through blueprint process, we're pulling out values. What do I value in a relationship? What do I value in the people that I'm with, in an interaction, in a company, in the squadron, like at my house with my family and my kids? And as we're pulling out values, and then we're pulling out strengths. What are your strengths, Jenks? What are you uniquely good at? I'm learning that I thought that all this stuff, everybody was good at this. Everybody had these values. Everybody, of course, everybody wants to deal with a person who does what they say they're going to do. Right. That's just obvious. And what I come to find out is, and this is the great thing about getting someone else's perspective too. When I'm working with a coach who's coaching lots of other people, and she's like, "Let me tell you, let's pause for a second. None of this stuff is unique. This stuff isn't universal. You being good at empowering a teammate through coaching is nowhere near universal. Like, there are so many people who aren't good at that and who wouldn't want to do that and hate that. And so I learned that I am unique, and even things that seem similar, seems like I may have some common skills in common with some other folks. Okay, that's fine. But you are unique, Jenks. And you do have unique contribution, a unique blueprint, a unique purpose to contribute to your team on a day in, day out basis. Man, I'm getting chills right now just recounting that and thinking about that.
And what is so powerful about what you're just sharing is that as you are having this moment, realizing that, hey, listen, if this one person is thinking this about, no one knows me, then, and by the way, it's not one other person, it's a whole lot of other people. If one person's thinking it, at least 50 other people are thinking it. You and I both know what I'm talking about. And you took that in a concept that you had, which was coaching, mentoring, it was all kind of the same, to realizing, because you were open to understanding that not only was the coaching, it's not about the theory, it's about the practice, it's about the blocking and tackling in the moment. And then you even went beyond that to say, this is also unique for each and every person. Each and every person's interpretation or blueprint of what they want out of life, their values, their purpose, getting all of that clear is unique to the individual. So I think that just in itself says a lot about you, from recognizing a situation to taking action to then having realization. So that's fantastic. And we're going to come back to a little bit of this, but remember I put a pin in one of the questions earlier? I want to come back to it because you were successfully rising up the chain of command, because you talked about going from XO to CO, right? And at the same time now, because you allowed me to bring this part back in, so now you have this other awakening that's saying, hey, listen, there's this coaching, there's this blueprint, and you're seeing how it applies to what you're doing during the day, as I like to call it. You got your 9 to 5, and then you've got your 5 to 9, right? And because you liked what you were doing, which makes you also one of mine, right? It's not easy for a lot of people to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm going to take these skills and I'm going to use them during my 9 to 5. And at the same time, I see that there's an opportunity or potential to be able to also make an impact from 5 to 9. And like what I'm doing on both sides, right? That's unique. We're not burning the boats, burning the bridges, or any of that kind of stuff here. So talk to us about, how did you make that, making your 9 to 5 work and perform at a very high level, and also bring in your 5 to 9 and make that start to become a reality?
Yeah. So I tell you, it starts with the clarity of purpose. So at first and again, purpose is infinite. And by that, I mean, it's not like we clarify, we get a purpose statement, and then for the next 60 years, that's it. No, we evolve. Life happens.
Would you say that one more time just so people understand that? Because I think we get into this, it's not even a golden path fallacy. It's just a life fallacy that you come up with what statement wants to do. So sorry, and I'm talking. Can you please repeat what you just said again? Because I don't want any viewer or listener to miss that.
Yeah. Just you clarify your purpose. It's not like you boil that down to a statement and then that's it. For the next 50 years, that is your purpose. That is it. It is a practice. It is more of an experiment after experiment after experiment, and okay, this is where I believe my purpose is. I'm going to do some experiments and go down this path, right? And I'm going to continue then to learn about myself, about what I'm doing, and about what my purpose might be. And so you refine it. And so my first version of this was raise yourself, raise your team. And I still really believe that. I mean, it's on a coin. I coined it. It's on my challenge coin that I made for Tier 1, my company. And it says, raise yourself, raise your team. And I boiled it down to really needing to work on yourself and all the self-discovery stuff I was talking about. But really, it goes with anything. It could have been my craft. Like, I really got to work on becoming the best pilot that I could be. Why? So that I could be there for my team, help them raise up to that level, automatically raise up the people around me. It was so raise yourself, raise your team was kind of my initial thing. So that combined, that kind of clarity, that confidence that comes with knowing that, and the values that were important to me, the passions that I had, I started I was leading from that every day. And as I went through the CO tour, I started to look, okay, what are the future opportunities that I can take here that will actually help me get closer to who I'm becoming?
Gotcha.
And so while I'm still in, and I still had a time to owe. And so instead of, because I guarantee, I'm telling you, after CO, there are other jobs that are also then considered golden path. Like now, okay, O5 CO is done. You got to take this job. What'd you get? What was your ranking there? Oh, that was your ranking. Okay, you better go take this tough job out doing whatever, because that's the thing you need to take to keep going up the path.
Right.
So that was an option. But the difference is with the clarity that I had, it's like, okay, no, some of those may be options, but I'm really looking for that next step that I think will get me closer to raise yourself, raise your team.
Yeah.
And so that's like step one. A lot of people think you got to blow your world up. And Billy, like your audience is going to resonate with this. They like what they're doing. They don't want to blow their world up necessarily. Right. They don't want to just, it's not about like, oh, I hate what I'm doing. I want to quit and do something else. Right. No, it's about, I love what I'm doing. However, I believe there's something else there. There's some options that I can create. I've got this little nudge, this little tug that's like asking me to explore something else. How do I do both? Which is what we're talking about here. So I didn't blow everything up. I just looked for the next step, the next thing that I could do to bring me a little bit more in alignment with what I believe my purpose was, with my blueprint. And so that's what I did. I looked for the next role. And so fast forward, that brought me up to Newport, Rhode Island. It brought me to the Naval War College, first as a graduate student through the senior program. And then while I was there, I applied for, and this is something I would not probably have applied for before, but the Stockdale Leader Development Concentration, which is a graduate certificate program. It dives deep into leader development the whole year. And it comes with, it's a graduate certificate. So on top of the graduate work, it comes with more work. And so, old Jenks, who didn't have this clarity, might have said, you know what? No, I'm here for the graduate degree. I'm not going to do this extra stuff. New Jenks was like, well, my purpose is raise yourself, raise your team.
Yeah.
And at the time, what that meant to me was you don't, if this is meant for you to develop, and by the way, this is leader development, this is going to not only help you develop, but help you learn how to help your team develop. I mean, it's raise yourself, raise your team, like to the T.
Yeah.
And so I was like, nope, got to do it. Got to follow it. Got to try it. So I applied and was accepted to that. Fast forward into that program. Peer coaching was an element of it. So now I had been exposed to a coach. And now in this program, I'm learning how to peer coach. So I'm learning how to coach. And I'm learning that a lot of what I did do throughout my career had elements of coaching, when I would sit down with a teammate and ask them some questions and try to figure out what was really hurting their head and like help them think through things, right? Mm-hmm. But now I'm learning, wow, you can be really intentional and deliberate about this. Sitting across from another peer who had also had command and was now sitting across from me in this program, and we're learning to peer coach each other. And then that led me to, as I'm finishing up my time as a student, it's like, all right, I'm going to turn down my next promotion. So I decided to turn down my next promotion, which that was 06 captain in the Navy. And taking that would have required 3 more years. And it also would have required me to go on some of these other jobs, right? That we've been talking about that, okay, may or may not have aligned, but I lose a lot of influence in which one I get and all yada, yada, yada. So I decided, no, I'm here. Instead of that, I want to see if I can stay here and be a professor at the college. And at the same time started to pursue coaching accreditation, mainly for the experience of coaching, learning from a mentor coach, and just becoming a better coach, right? Yeah. And then I could apply that in the classroom. So my role as a leader development professor was to facilitate discussions so that the leaders in that room were learning from each other. I mean, that's what I did for 2 years at the War College. It was just to facilitate and help them learn from each other. It wasn't about me standing up on a podium telling them what to do. Fast forward I'm in a coaching program. I'm then taking, man, here's this stuff, right? That we can take from one area, one passion, one interest. I'm taking what I'm learning in my coaching, I'm bringing it into the War College, and I'm using coaching skills to help facilitate these discussions between leaders so that they can learn from each other. So I'm directly somewhere else, private. I mean, I paid for that coaching stuff myself and was learning it and bringing it and being a better professor at the War College. So this is a perfect example of the cross-pollination. Yeah. And at the same time, started to take some clients on the side because I'm like, yeah, I can see that this is, and guess what? Taking clients on the side, what was that doing? That was also helping me be a great professor, right, of leader development. So I'll stop there. I mean, we obviously,
no, and I'm look, we could talk forever. Unfortunately, we gotta, at a certain point, we gotta kind of wrap it up. But I love the parallels that you're talking about, because it is about when you have that moment and you like what you're doing and you want to pour more into that, and then you see there's possibilities to take those same skills and use them in very similar ways, right? And very much to your point, this was very similar. As I started to build my business outside of corporate, a lot of the same leadership and sales specifically, because that's where I focused, those skills, being able to then use them to be a much more effective leader in my own company, be able to use a lot of the same skill set to not only identify, attract, and help to solve client problems. And when I was getting these problems outside of the office, guess what they did for me inside of the office? They gave me new perspective, new different types of industry, different types of clients, but bringing those types of solutions back into my company. So very, very similar to what you're talking about right now. So, and I appreciate that. There's one thing that I really, because we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but and even though, and everybody knows we don't have that much time, but I want you to talk about because you've talked about the blueprint, and if you're watching us on the video, and if you're not, then you need to watch us on the video, because Brandon's got or Jenkins has got this really amazing blueprint behind himself. He's got the matching hat and he's got this amazing smile. So it's like, you got to check us out here on the video. Check us out. So very quickly, if you could, high level, talk us through the blueprint, because you've talked about, I've heard you say words like alignment and purpose and clarity and golden path fallacy. So how does the blueprint play into that, being able to move us away from the fallacy, give us more clarity, give us more purpose, and more importantly, be in alignment with those things?
Yeah. Blueprint coaching is about helping you reveal the values, the passions, the unique strengths and skills and purpose that you are uniquely designed with, and helping you to kind of first get all this kind of out. And we get to all of that stuff through your interactions, the things that you're doing in your life, the important events in your life. Now, sometimes we do touch on important events of the past to reinforce kind of the values and things that you're bringing up right now. And we get that all on the table. And then we work together to take all of that and clarify what at this time of your life, and for the people that you're meant to be with, what is really jumping out at you about all these things, these values, these passions, these strengths, all these things, what's jumping out at you. And you can actually, if anyone's watching, right, you can see there's some green tabs on some of these circles. It's because we evolve, we grow. And at different times in our lives, there's different parts of us that need to be in the game a little bit more than maybe some other parts of us. Not that one's bad or one's good. Yep. Just that depending on the context. Let's say your basketball team, you got 5 players on the court. Well, which 5 do you need on the court at this time, right? The other players on the bench are super important, but right now we need these 5 in the game. And it's about clarifying that this time in your life to get down to, what do you believe your purpose, your cause, and what are the most important things to you right now, the players that need to be on the court. And when we've done that, we align, we work together to help you align the decisions that you're making, the opportunities you're taking or not taking, the leadership situations you're in, to ensure that you have clarity of purpose and you can align your life essentially with that.
Man, there's so many things that I love about what you just said, and there's this recurring theme. And when you talk about the green tax, and there's a lot of people watching, by the way. So the green tax that you're talking about, and like I said, everybody, if you're not watching the video version, just come check us out, because he's got this really cool, awesome blueprint behind him. It's about understanding where you are in the moment. And one of the things that you continue to say that I think is very powerful is that this is not a one-time exercise. This is something that is ongoing. This is not theory. There is a theoretical foundation, but it's going from theory to practice. That's the whole thing, right? And there's this famous Allen Iverson thing, talk practice, but this is really like being in the game. This is being in the game and having that go along and to understand that your blueprint is unique to you and constantly being able to update that and figure out where things are. So, Brandon, Jenks, if you will, I want to keep asking you a million questions, but I think we got to kind of wrap things up, man, which is just one of those things. But before we do that, like I said at the very beginning, I want to say thank you for not only your service. I also want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity today to understand more about you, more about what you have accomplished to this point in time and how you're helping others to transform, to become much more clear, to understand and uncover the purpose that they have and get that in alignment, not based on just the theory, but because you are a practitioner. You've gone from theory to help to make it practical and being able to uncover what's unique to each person so that at the end of the day, the amount of impact that you're able to have, specifically, I'm going to highlight tier 1 coaching, can be infinite, right? Mm. And so I just want to say thank you on behalf of the entire Going Long family. And before we say goodbye, I would love for you to tell me and the entire Going Long family, because everybody wants to know more about you, how they can get in touch with you. Please, 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 Jenks, help us understand. How can we find out more about you and also what you're doing at Tier 1 Coaching?
Yeah, thank you, Billy. First off, thank you for saying that, man. It means a lot to me. And just to see all that you've been doing the last couple of years too, and the support that you've given me on LinkedIn and our back and forth. And we've had a couple of calls, right? Yeah. This isn't the first call. So it really means a lot to me. And so I appreciate your support. I'm super grateful for you, man. Tier1coaching.com is my coaching website. So you can learn about Blueprint Process. I actually just launched a self-paced version of it. So it's a self-paced version. It's got videos of me, kind of the different steps that we might go through if we were one-on-one. It's got me kind of talking through all that. And it also comes with 6 months of access to a Slack community where you actually have access to me and other people going through the process, and graduates of it as well. Other people who have revealed their blueprint and are living it. So I'm excited about that because we just kind of relaunched that. Awesome. LinkedIn, I'm active on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. That's obviously Billy and I have been talking about that. That's where we met. I'm on there almost every day, every weekday now these days. Used to be every day. So you can find me there. You can reach out to me through the DMs. There's a form on the website. My email is brandon@tier1coaching.com. So feel free to shoot me an email if you want. And I'd love to, if any of this resonated, you're my people. I'd love to talk to you more about it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you investing the time with me, with us today. And Going Long family, just do me one favor. Not if, but when you reach out to Brandon, would you make sure that you let Jenks know that you've already invested time here today, listening to the conversation? It's going to help you. It's going to help him just continue that path even more efficiently. And I know I will feel good that the two of you are in touch. So make sure that you let him know that you've already invested time here. So aside from that, listen, Jenks, like I said, man, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you investing time with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Billy.